Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is for the Vicki Boutin design team, and this time I want to show you 3 prompts. So this video comprises of 3 separate videos using some of the prompts for her Junque journal homework. If you don't know anything about Vicki's summer creative online camp, then you have to come join us at the Vicki Boutin mixed media community or check her artist page. She's hosting a summer-long challenge based on mixed media and photography, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's all based on the Junque journal. So before we continue, let me just show you what I did. If you follow me, then you know that last week I created my Junque journal page and my cover page. So what I did is behind my cover page, I glued a piece of paper from the 7x10 paper pad from the All the Good Things collection and created a vellum pocket where I can house the list for the June prompts. And I just added some pieces of ephemera, and that's about it. A simple, I don't want to overcrowd it. Now, if you saw last week's project, if not, you can go back. I had some leftover glaze from the cover, so all I did is run it through the script stencil on top of the first page that comes in the Junque journal. I did not prep the page. It was just, you know what, I had leftover material. I just used it. So my choice is now I'm going to show you how I finish. And this is part of the prompt number 2, which is setup. And this is pretty much how I'm going to set up my tabs for the rest of the Junque journal. It could change, but I'm going to use a stencil and the script. But I'm going to show you that how I'm breaking up my Junque journal. Now, I am using warm tones because I use that orange paper on the opposite side. So my choice here is just to create a watercolor by scribbling the art crayon onto my craft mat and watering it down. So that gives me that consistency of watercolor. And all I'm doing right now is using the water brush just to drop a few, I don't know if you can say droplets, sorry, that sounds redundant, of the watercolor onto the page. And this has not been primed. You saw I dropped a little bit of water before. And all I'm doing is using the brush just to kind of spread the ink droplets around. And this is a super simple way to create a watercolor background. The only thing is, if you're going to see it, that I clean the brush every so often because I don't want to create one single color. I want the colors to be defined to each own. If I don't do that, then I'm going to end up with only one single orange piece. So by cleaning the brush in between, I'm allowing each color to have to not mix in a way. And that's about it. And one of the things that I'm doing, you're going to see, is that I lift the paper and I make the paint run. I think sometimes we use glaze after we have put watercolor, but like I said, this was just a hat material. So I think it's going to work better because some of the watercolor is going to kind of pull at the grooves of the impression, and it's going to give me this, it's going to pop the impression more. And that's pretty much it. What you're going to see me do in a bit is that I am actually, first of all, I'm adding more color because there's a lot of white spaces in between. I'm lifting the paper so the paint pulls, and then I'm going to dry a lot of this paint. And what I'm doing this is because I did not prep this page. So I don't want to have lots of water floating in the page in a way, because it's going to soak into the paper and it's going to create a lot of buckle. So my choice is just to give it, I'd rather work with like a few layers and then deepen the color that way than to have a buckle paper. I'm trying to keep everything as straight as I can. So as you see, I dried up the extra ink or watercolor in this case, and then I'm just adding a few more drops just to fill up some of the gaps. I'm getting some extra yellow where the orange is and stuff like that, just because I want to make sure that everything where the script was placed, I've covered that. Now, this is pretty much, like I said, what my setup is going to be. It's going to be all comprised of one big number and a tab that shows me the week. So this is week 1. And I'm using some of Vicki's ephemera from her first release. I actually have a lot of her first release. And all I did is add some of the ephemera. I'm adding a tag with the week. And I'm using, actually, I think this stamp comes from Studio Calico. I did not want to use a lot of the chipboard. First of all, I don't have that many. And also, I wanted to use some of the colors, not that much black. After that, what I'm gonna do is add in the tab the dates of like the week, so I know what week I'm working on and what prompts I'm using. And this just works for me, for my OCD. It works really well. After that, I'm just gonna use a few more details using Vicki's roller stamp, and that's about it. One of my tabs is done. It's simple but efficient. This challenge is not about I'm not saying have very ornate pages, but it's about having fun with mixed media, being creative every day. And this is going to push you, if you're doing it every day or every so often, it's up to you how often you want to do it. but it's actually gonna get your mixed media juices going, get some ideas, try some stuff. It's a small format, so it's great to try a lot of stuff. Now, this is the second prompt that I'm gonna show you. It's all about cool. The prompt, I can't remember what day it is, but the prompt is cool. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna use the cool set of art crayons. And if you have seen my videos, then you know that I have two containers. One with all my cool colors and one with all my warm colors, which means that I actually mix my neutral colors into the two sets and divide them according to the tone of the crayon. But before I did that, I actually marked my neutral set with an X on the little package, so I knew how to separate them. So now what I did is I pulled out the art crayons, the cool art crayons, and I actually created sort of like think of a rainbow or a gradient of color from green to purple. And all I'm doing is I scribble them onto my craft mat, and I'm actually gonna water them down, making sure that they fit the width and the length, that the scribble lines fit the width of the length of one of the inserts. And this is one of the mixed media inserts that I've actually used yeso, so it's been prepped with yeso. And as you can see right now, all I'm doing is I'm just mixing the colors. You're gonna see that along the way I try to mix, bring some of the top color to the bottom color, just to, I don't have the defined lines. I want to have sort of like a gradient color, and you're gonna see it looks really good actually at the end. And this is about it. And you're gonna see that also I'm gonna start bringing some of the extra green to make the strip, you can say, wider. And that's about it. Once it's ready, I'm gonna bring the insert, put it on top of the color, and that's a bit. I created my impression. Think about it as like cheating my jelly plate kind of thing. Now I have a lot of leftover watercolor, so my idea was to stamp it onto a page. But once I started working, again, this is one of the mixed media inserts, not prep. I just have them at hand, and all I'm doing is just trying to get as much as I can of the impression. And I have that leftover impression from the stencil, so I'm just gonna put the paper and get the impression from it. And I'm gonna set aside to dry. While it dried, I use some of my I have an Altenew. Sorry, it's not good to say, but I have an Altenew die that creates those letters. So I just could cut the words cool from the second piece of paper, the one with the leftover art crayon. Now, what I want to do is I want to emphasize the colors. And like I said, I'm going like art journal for this page. And all I'm going to do is add some some art crayon around the edge of the impression that I created, the first impression, using the stencil brush and the circle stencil in this case. And I'm following the same order that I did with the crayons. So I'm starting with the light green, and then I'm going to go into the green and the teal and so on until I finish with the navy. And I'm just adding it just to the edge of the page because there's a lot of white space there and I want to cover it. One of the things that I tried to do is I did not want to get that straight line at the edges. So you're going to see me play with the stencil to try to make it match first, because I don't want to have like, you know, the weird when the circles meet, I don't want to have that line. So I'm just playing around with the stencil, and I'm going to start adding colors. Now, as you're going to see, when you get to the blue, I just try to mix the colors so that it gave me sort of like a gradation. But you're going to see that when it comes to the bottom, since I'm using the same brush and I'm using blue to purple, it kind of models the two colors together, ended up being like a dark navy, but it works anyways. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, I was careful just with the impression. I wanted to have something that continued. That's the word, sorry. Something that continued the pattern without breaking it harshly or having like, you know, like circles cut out. I don't mind that, but sometimes it just doesn't look that great. So I'm just being careful with that. And that's about it. Like I said, love this. If you have not used a stencil brush, I would suggest you get a set. That's the greatest and the best tool ever. It's so easy to work. It's mess free. Really gives you a great ink background, and you're gonna see how many things you can do with it. It's amazing. Those brushes are amazing. So like I said, I only have one set, so I gotta clean in between, and that's probably why I got that navy impression at the bottom, because the blue mixed with the purple and gave me this dark tone. You're gonna see it at the end. It doesn't look that bad, but it doesn't give me that definition at the bottom. But I like it. Now, I have a lot of crayon left on my brush. So all I'm doing is faintly going to the center of the page, just to add a light impression. Now, I want to bring attention to the center part of the page. So my idea was to work in layers. And now what I'm adding is stamps. I'm using the circle stamps and Vicky's color wheel, the cool set, just to add the impression of the medium circle dotted stamp. That's from Vicky's latest release around the entire page. And I'm moving the color of the ink along the way. And I'm also choosing not to stamp the circle completely. Now, when it came to the blue part, the center, all you're gonna see is that I'm using the big circle, looks like a sunburst with the blue ink, because I just want to bring attention to that part. I want to create like a background for those letters that I cut out, and that's about it. I'm using some foam adhesive to prop the letters so that you can see those little. It's so nice the way the letters fall, and that's about it. That's my prompt for cool, and you're gonna see the details right now. Love how this turned out. Super easy. Fun. It was fun to get your hands dirty, and you know what? Try something similar. Now we're gonna go to the third prompt, and this belongs to today's date. And today's date, based on the list, is called glaze. So it's all about using glaze. So what I'm doing is I'm using a mixed media insert, and I'm not prepping the insert with yeso. Instead, I am using iridescent glaze to prep the page. So I'm using a brayer to actually spread the iridescent paste, or glaze, sorry, all over the page. Super simple. I'm gonna show you along the way. You might not see it on camera, but it gives you such a nice shimmery look to the page. And I set it aside to dry. This dried really fast because it's a really soft layer of glaze. It dried really, really fast, and it gave me a little bit of texture. Super nice, but the page is so shiny. It's beautiful. So my choice was to add some watercolor, and I wanted to take advantage of the purples and the fuchsia. So I'm using the purple and the fuchsia crayon, and all I'm doing is scribbling into the mat again and watering it down. But this time I'm gonna use my brayer to add the color onto the paper. I wanted a really thin layer of the color. I was afraid that I might left some of the glaze. You know, the glaze is also water soluble, so I was afraid that if I did a lot of water, it was gonna lift. But it didn't. Using the braid didn't, and it actually gave me this really shimmery tone of pink and purple, and I love it. Now, here's the fun part. I love adding droplets to my projects, so I decided that I wanted to use add a few into this page too, and I set it aside to dry. And what happened is that where the drops fell, it actually created these little puddles, and when you're gonna see in the next image, it actually shows the white glaze underneath. I love it. Oh my God. And it's so shiny. You're going to see right now, you see the little white spot? That is just where the paint drops fell and dried. Now, this is the second layer. And I'm going to use the rose glaze and my stencil brush. And also the flower stencil. I did not want a thick impression. I wanted something really simple. I'm creating my own paper in a way. So all I'm doing is I am using the stencil brush again to pick up some of the glaze, and then I'm running it on top of the stencil, the flower stencil, and you're gonna see when I lift it up, it looks just like paper. Super thin coat, amazing. Love the way this turned out. Loved it. The color, I loved everything about it. This is like one of my favorite things that I did this week. And all I'm doing is, again, I'm playing around with the stencil because I don't want to have the harsh lines of where the flowers cut off. And that's about it. I set aside to dry. Again, dry really fast because it's just super thin coat of the glaze. Now, I want to bring like a little bit of texture. There's not that much texture to this page. So I'm using an Echo Park, a stencil that I have on my stash. And and a mixture of iridescent and gold glaze just to run a few dots on the paper. And I'm creating sort of the background for where I'm going to use. I'm using a picture. This is a picture of me a few days ago. I went out. It was really hot in Toronto. So I went out for a walk. There's a park behind me and there's a river. And I love taking pictures there. And all I did is I'm taking advantage of the 7x10 paper pad to add a few layers behind it. And I'm using some of the ephemera and some of the icons and the frames just to create this page. And what I'm using right now, it's the purples and the pinks are in the background, just to bring some of the colors behind the flower. Simple page. I added some of the watercolor stickers, and then you're gonna see me that I'm gonna water down the rose glaze and use it as watercolor to add extra detail onto the butterfly. One of the things that didn't come on this page is that I added a third butterfly at the bottom of the picture, and that's pretty much it. I love how this turned out. There's so many things you can do with glaze. It's not just to create an impression or to create watercolor. You can actually use it to create your own paper. There's so many things you can do, and you can see the shimmer right now. I took this picture just to show you how shimmery it is. The page is amazing, and some of the details you're gonna see, the glaze is super thin. Love how this turned out. Love how this turned out, and I hope you try it. Let me know if you have any questions on any of these prompts or anything that has to do with the Junk Journal camp. I would love to see what you create, and thank you so much for joining me. Take care, guys.